A good video game is like a good shoe. It's something that's comfortable when you try it out for the first time, and it's something you want to continue to wear, preferably for years on end. Unfortunately, Doom 2016 wasn't quite the shoe I was hoping for. In fact, it was more like a bit of a flip-flop for the short term. Doom Eternal, however, dropped yesterday, and on stream right here on my YouTube channel, I dived into the first 3 hours. I'm here today to talk to you guys about my experiences and let you guys know if Doom Eternal is a good shoe or a flip-flop. So there's lots about Doom Eternal that I liked, and I'm going to start right there with all the different things that I really loved about it. Immediately when you start the game, you are lunged into enemies. It takes no prisoners, and you start with the shotgun, not the pistol, and I really like that because you feel a little bit more powerful from the get-go. As a small tip, I would advise you guys, lower your sensitivity slightly, as it's set really high and it feels really sensitive if you're playing on console. I was playing on a base PS4 and it ran really well, considering it is the most vanilla PlayStation 4 console out there. Graphically, it held up very well, but I did notch the sensitivity down, so just be mindful when you start off because the pace kicks you from the split second you join in to the game. There's lots that can be said about the movement in Doom Eternal. It definitely feels incredible. Most notably, the kind of gliding through the air, the dashes, you can kind of dash back, forward, left or right. You can do the classic little double jump, in being able to kind of get that additional verticality, and you're also able to traverse on walls, which really does make some of the level design have that extra little twist. And I think that is where, well, that's one of the reasons I like Doom Eternal over Doom 2016, as it just has that extra layer on the onion, as I like to call it here. It's just something that is a nice tweak, and it's sometimes kind of like you're on a bit of a level and you're like, where do I go? And unbeknownst to me, you need to kind of go up and up again, and then turn around, then jump across to a ledge, and then there's lots of different dynamics to the level that make it fun, that make it almost feel like a little bit Uncharted-esque, but with a Doom skin. And I actually really liked that. I've heard some people saying that they don't like the additional verticality. You do have to press R3 when you hit a wall for it to be able to register. That knocks me a little bit. I think you should just pivot automatically lock on. So just be mindful, because I've died many a times just kind of flying into a wall and then falling down. So be mindful, guys. You got to button press, you got to be on it with your timings if you're playing some Doom Eternal. But the additional kind of verticality, the dash on the ground and in the air, you do feel a lot more agile, and I think that adds so much to the quality and pace of Doom Eternal. Gone hath the hellish, fiery, dreary caverns of Doom 2016 and bring on some beautiful level aesthetics in Doom Eternal, because this was another thing that I noticed incredibly early on. The different types of level and different types of areas within a level have a beautiful variation that avoid the monotony that I found with the underwhelming flip-flop of Doom 2016. Don't get me wrong, I liked the game, but only for a short period of time. I couldn't play it for prolonged periods, which did my head in a little bit. So what do I mean by that? Well, back in Doom 2016, I found that there was just a mammoth amount of an orange colour palette, and everything seemed to be pretty much indoors. But when it was outdoors, the draw distance wasn't very great, and even the sky had this horrific orange colour, and it just made everything blend together far too much. In Doom Eternal, I really love the fact that there's greys and then flashes of neon. It might be like a shop sign that kind of pops out, and you might be in a little bit of a broken down mall setting. So things seem to feel like a little bit more alive. Earth, feels a little bit more alive, so to speak, even though everything is dead and you're playing this horrifically demon-fueled game. But I actually love that different variant. Sometimes when you're outside, you feel like you are lost because the draw distances are really impressive, and there's a lot to look at in the distance as well. Like, there's some really interesting architecture in the rock. some kind of like demons being slayed with, I don't know if it's a marine or another Doomslayer kind of being mimicked and carved out of a rock. You know, there's lots of different points of interest, I think, with the environments and level design. And like I said, being able to traverse walls, dash in many different directions, coupled with some additionally stunning level aesthetics, Doom Eternal boasts personality, where I feel Doom 2016 was incredibly claustrophobic and underwhelming by comparison. Like I said, don't hate me, Doom 2016 had a lot of good traits, but I think Doom Eternal has just lifted the franchise so much more, and I think that this is, yes, it's an early game in the year, but it could be a Game of the Year contender. And like I said, I'm playing on a base PS4 Pro. I'm yet to try this on my PlayStation 4 Pro. So when I do, I dare say, those beautiful level aesthetics will look even more gorgeous. So like I said earlier, I'm 3 hours in. Let's talk about weapons, because Doom is all about weapons. Now in the classic Dooms, like I said, you start off with your knuckle duster, and then the first weapon you acquire is the pistol, followed by the shotgun, etc, etc. In Doom Eternal, you start off with the shotgun. There are different types of shotguns. You can upgrade your weapons. You might want to add a little rocket launcher, for example. Even the Marine, even the Slayer, has his own shoulder. I think it's on the left shoulder launcher, which I really, really like. Again, it just makes him look even more cool, and we're going to talk about that in a minute. And 3 hours in, how many weapons have I got? I have unlocked 4 weapons out of a total of, I think, 8 on the weapon wheel. You access the weapon wheel by pressing R1. I constantly try to press L1 to change my weapon and end up throwing a grenade, so just be mindful, as I've heard a lot of gameplay reviewers, critics and just kind of gamers say that they've often had to remap their controllers to suit their playstyle. So a little bit, you know, I think the default control settings with the sensitivity can be a little bit of a pain, but in terms of weapons, getting back to my point, there's some really nice feeling weapons in it. Everything looks great. I'm not here to kind of blag you off with the technical specs of how many polygons and edges look crisp compared to Doom 2016. This is not the channel for that. I'm talking from the heart here, and from what I've seen so far, I've really enjoyed it, and I'm looking forward to seeing what additional unlocks I can get and what additional weapons are going to come into my arsenal to make me an even more powerful Doomslayer in 2020. Another cool thing that I found, you see a lot more of the Doomslayer than you do in Doom 2016. And I like that, because you always wonder, who is that guy behind the mask? Who is he? What's his backstory? And as much as you don't really get that, I do like the little addition in the cutscenes where you do see him a little bit more. That's a small detail, but it's a detail that really stood out for me. And I'm going to chuck in this, a change in pacing. When you go back to your ship in between levels, you can kind of go, you can get different points where you can level up, and it slows the gameplay down. There are some enemies, but in the kind of main decks of your ship, there are no enemies. So it gives you a chance to be alone, take your time, take a step back, and that's what I think Doom Eternal does really well, having that change of pace and that change of aesthetics over Doom 2016. So what about the combat? How does it play? What are the enemies like? Well, you have the classic enemies like the imps. There are the Marines, which look incredibly buff compared to what they look like in the classic Doom. They're actually quite skinny and very small in their stature, but they're big and gruff in this. They're very easy to kill. Other Marines, or soldiers, I think I've heard other people refer to them as. The imps aren't as gnarly as I thought they would look. We got the gargoyles, we got the cacodemons, everything that is familiar about Doom that you love from the, I think, eclectic nature of enemies, you will see in Doom Eternal and then some. And what I found was there tended to be a bit of a theme. So the game is pretty linear, and you'll be going from point A to point B, and let's say you get to point B, and then there's just this influx of enemy wave after enemy wave after enemy wave. And what I started to notice was that, say, when you get to those areas, it's almost like a little arena. Even though you're not in an arena, you're in this kind of area with different levels. There might be kind of like a bottom level with loads of lava around, and then a little jump chute, and you get onto kind of like ground level, and then you can kind of go again, maybe onto the first floor of a broken down building. And you're just kind of wrestling, you know, fighting your way through these hordes of enemies, for about 5 minutes until you kill them all, and then you can progress to point C. So you've got your lineage, and you're just kind of going around, kicking some ass, and then you get to these big, almost like kind of medium battles, I guess, mini bosses, before moving on. And that seemed a little bit repetitive at times, but once you got used to it, you kind of knew what to expect, and it just gave me a chance to really settle in to the kind of gameplay that I wanted to explore. So I was happy with that overall, despite some monotony. I was pretty stoked with it, and what I found was I was just picking up my pace, especially when I found the dash move, and it just made the combat feel even more fluid, more autonomous, more fun, and that is exactly what I want from Doom. And it really held true to the spirit of the classic Dooms, with the little kind of like potion ampules of health, you know, little blue ones that you had in the classic Dooms. They brought them back for this. I mean, they even have the little med packs that look very similar to what they looked like in the classic Doom. I love the little touches of nostalgia that you'd see amidst these mini arena battles. So massive thumbs up for me so far, and I'm only 3 hours in to a 16-hour plus campaign, and I'm excited to see what the remaining game holds. 3 hours in, what did I not like? There were some very, very, very minor puzzles and tactical areas where you'd say needed to scale from the ground floor up a mountain somewhere, and there was no obvious path. But what did stick out were these bright green flashing symbols that you tended to go and punch or to shoot, and it would unlock something or move something, so you were then able to get up and up and up and up. There tended to be a lot of traversing involved in that, whether you're kind of gripping onto a wall, moving onto a different ledge, or you were literally swinging from post to post to be able to access the next platform. Very, very minor puzzles, and I will say this, a lot of timing it right was involved, and I'm not a massive fan of that, because if you're like me, you'll die a lot, and it just slows that pace down a little bit, especially when you've just come off the back of like a 10-minute no death rhythm of killing everything and moving really fast, to then get into a point in the level where you just fall, come back, fall, come back, fall, because you haven't quite mastered where to go. So aside from the minor timing and the puzzles, I think Doom Eternal is a fantastic game after only 3 hours of playing it. So I'm pleasantly surprised, and I was even more surprised to get Doom 64 with the pre-order. So I will also be diving back into the majestic Doom 64 right here on my channel, on stream and over on Mixer. So go and give me a follow on Mixer. Make sure you guys hit that subscribe button and let me know some of your thoughts on Doom Eternal in the comment section below. Also, let me know what you've enjoyed about this video. Will it persuade you to get it? Will it not? Has it completely put you off? Maybe it has. See you in the next one, guys. I'm going to stop rambling. My name is Gemma. Take care. See you soon.